Film Club. Thank you very much for joining us for a very special episode of One More Round. I'm one of your hosts, Andy Harrison, and to my right is Andy, who's looking a bit dodgy today. Rick Masters.
Well, his beard's bigger than this, isn't it?
It's a glorious beard, I have to admit. I'd never say it to his face,
No.
but it's a glorious beard.
Yeah.
When he's not here, we talk only about his beard. Mr. Popcornography, Rick Masters.
Hello, how do?
We are doing this very impromptu special episode of Film Club because you and I watched something recently.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't watch it together. It wasn't like we didn't go on a romantic date to the cinema.
We could start doing that though.
But like the whole premise around Film Club is we wanted to watch like some old stuff.
Yeah.
We wanted to go back to some classics and say, like, are these worth it? We don't do a lot of new releases. This time we're going to talk about a new release. We're going to talk about, I'm going to do this. Drum roll, Trainspotting 2.
T2.
Sorry, T2. Trainspotting.
Trainspotting.
Which is
Terrible
the
title.
worst title I've ever heard for a film.
Rubbish.
At some point, someone should have said to him, "Do you not just want to call it Trainspotting 2?"
Not Terminator 2.
Garbage.
Probably playing on that. Terminator 2 was good.
Terminator 2 was good,
Yeah.
but I've got James Cameron issues, which we can leave for a different time. Yeah.
What's wrong with James Cameron?
James Cameron made Aliens.
Yeah.
What a
What?
piece of garbage that is.
You don't like aliens?
No.
Oh, all the viewers have turned off now.
Yeah, no, probably. Yeah. Well, no.
I'm not listening to this jerk.
You assume we had viewers to begin with.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
No, so
Someone somewhere. That one
Trainspotting.
person's turned off.
Trainspotting 2. What do we think?
Do you like Trainspotting 1?
Do I?
Yeah.
I love Trainspotting 1.
Okay.
I love Danny Boyle as a director.
So in that case, you will definitely like this film.
Thanks. I did as well.
See?
I think like it's really difficult to pick apart Trainspotting 2. I think it's because it's a lot of ways it plays on stuff that was pre-established in Trainspotting,
Yeah.
and in a lot of ways it brings in some new stuff.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, it's riding a fine line about nostalgia and calling back to now iconic moments from Trainspotting.
Yeah. I think my issue with it didn't have enough of them new moments and relied far too much on its a Trainspotting 1, which I don't know, like, I think you quite like that, but
Yeah.
I think it just relied on it a little bit too much. By the end, I got a little bit tired of it going, remember this, remember when we did this, remember when we did this. It's like, I'm watching a new film. If I wanted to remember, I'd just put the old film on. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Have you seen, total tangent, have you seen the new season of South Park?
No.
There's this whole subplot with these things called member berries.
Okay.
And it's just people eat these things, and
And then
there's these little talking berries, and they just sit around going, "Hey, remember Star Wars?" And then one of them would go, "Yeah, I remember Star Wars. Oh yeah." And it's like that's it. That's the extent of the conversation. Just like, "Hey,
Right.
remember this thing?" "Yeah, I remember this."
Right.
And yeah, there's a little bit of that. Like I thought, whenever Danny Boyle was using the old footage, which, like I
No issues with that.
kind of
Like,
I loved seeing that
I
old
really
stuff,
did.
especially what looked like deleted scenes from the first one.
All right, yeah.
There was
possibly,
like
yeah.
there was like the odd shot, which was like at least a different take, or like
What scenes were them?
there was not full scenes, but there was shots of them. I remember them coming out of the apartment block,
Right.
and I remember that's not in the first one because thankfully, I'm really, really thankful for this. I watched the first one right before going to see this again.
Okay, yeah.
It's like I'd seen the first one ages ago, but I couldn't remember half of it.
All right.
And for anyone who's going to go see this, I would recommend you watch the first one
Yeah.
before you go watch this.
Yeah. Or you have to have seen the first one, I think, to
Oh,
enjoy
yeah.
this film.
Yeah, this
'Cause
film
you just sat
doesn't
there
work on
going,
its own.
What? It doesn't really take much time, like to introduce the characters and stuff, because it's just expecting the audience to know them all already.
Yeah, yeah. And like it expects you to know kind of the relationship and what happened 20 years ago to
Yeah.
them as well.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't really catch you up, I don't think, on like the ending of Trainspotting. So yeah, like going into this, it was great to see. I thought where the characters are. The characters felt like the same people from the first film who had gone through like 20 years of stuff and of character growth and of
Yeah.
changing. They still felt like the same people at the core, but just like slightly different.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not different enough for some of them.
One of them hadn't really changed all that much, and and in this film we do see
Sick Boy, Spud, Franco, Renton.
Spud actually, this is like probably the first time he does change, isn't it? I think he tried to change a few times, but in this film we see him develop, and he's by far my favourite character in this one.
Yeah, well, it's crazy because like it basically becomes Spud's film at the end of it.
Yeah.
Like he almost becomes the protagonist of the film.
Yeah. And there was some beautiful cinematic scenes in that, like cinematography. Sorry, is just that scene at the table in the kitchen with his dad, and the shadow of his mother. Well, him looking like his mother.
Where it's like it's the two of them sitting there. And there's a third empty seat, and he's telling her about like what happened to his mum, and like you kind of start to piece together. I love the use of dialogue because like at that point you're starting to piece together why he's gone home, and you're starting to figure out like what's happened to his mum. But at no point did it outright say like, he's not saying to anybody, I came home because mum died. He's not saying to anybody like, oh, my mum's dead, it's upsetting me. There's no like, there is no dialogue being used to push the plot forward. The dialogue's being used to express more emotion for the characters.
Yeah, I did really like
awesome. And that shot where his shadow is filling her seat.
Yeah.
Oh, that just works so well.
Yeah, I really like the final scene as well with in the pub, isn't it? The old pub, and there's the train going past the window. Yeah. And I thought that was really nicely shot, and the colours and stuff.
And the audio mix there is wonderful. Yeah. With like that train kind of drowning out a lot of stuff. And it adds to the total like tension of that scene. Yeah. One thing I thought was odd, using Robert Carlyle Franco, using Franco as basically a villain.
Yeah.
Like he was always a bit dodgy in the first Trainspotting. He causes a lot of shit. But he wasn't a villain. He becomes a villain in this. Yeah, and straight away I didn't like how like they had to get him out of prison to involve him in the story, and the way they did it was a bit clunky. Yeah. And how he escapes and then he goes home. Yeah. To his wife and kid, and the police don't seem to care. No, he's in the first place I'm going to go and look for him is his family home. It's like they're there somewhere, scratching their chins, going, "Where could he be?" Yeah, and he's just walking around on the streets where he always has been. Like, what? Yeah, it's class. Yeah, but no, I gloss over that bit, don't it? It's even weirder that one of the first introductions to him as well is him talking with his attorney about maybe getting out. Yeah, and they're like, "No, you're not getting out." Yeah, why? Let him get out. Yeah, it would have made more sense. And then we don't have this weird contrived like thing where he breaks out and goes home. Exactly. Yeah, that was a strange decision. Yeah. No, but I think for me I really enjoyed the fact that Danny Boyle was constantly like poking and nodding at the original film and like building on it. It felt like a sequel to a film in that it wasn't trying to retread the same ground. It was building on what had happened. And then right towards the end. Actually, no, it begins quite early on. Where, like, he comes into his room and, like, this is Renton. He comes in his room and puts the little needle down on the record player. And, like, it starts playing that iconic Iggy Pop song. Yeah. And then, he jumps away from it. And then at the final scene. Yeah. Yeah, I do. That was a nice little touch. And that's the soundtrack, though, is like... Yeah. Although it's a mixed bag, right? Because you had the classic songs, which are teased all the way through. Didn't quite give me enough. I was like, come on. Yeah. I want more than that. But then the new songs that threw away, and I thought they didn't really fit that well. I don't know why. I know what you mean. I don't know. I mean, they weren't memorable or anything, were they? And I think you're right. I think that's probably because he's playing off of like the nostalgia and the memories of the original. That when this new stuff does come in, it does feel a bit like, okay, that's not what this film's about. Were the songs made big from Trainspotting 1, or were they big at the time? Because the songs he'd used in this one aren't. Well, wasn't Iggy Pop's? Wasn't that song made for that? Film, because the video for it is like Trainspotting themed. Yeah, this is where we should have done some research. We should have done some research. Sorry. Never mind. But no, I did. The soundtrack was a mixed bag, and then the scene with the Choose Life is amazing. Oh, my hair, like good. I was just like sat on the edge of my seat, just like, is anyone else hearing? Yeah, because like the original, I'm pretty sure in the first Trainspotting film, it's only ever done as a voiceover. You don't actually hear him like saying that, and when he starts to say it, it starts to feel a little bit like a little disingenuous. It feels a little like rehearsed, and I was like, but then he gets into it, and he really starts to like pick it up. He really starts to like kind of carried away with it.
And again, it just touches on exactly what, and we touched on it in the review for American Psycho, how it plays on today's social situation.
Yeah.
And everyone's just lost in their phones and no one's paying attention to anyone. You're sat in a carriage full of people, no one's talking to each other.
Yeah. It's great to see that, like, we brought up American Psycho. If you haven't seen this week's film club, go have a look. It's about American Psycho.
I'm in that as well.
Rick's in that as well. You can see more of him. So it's great to see. Like,
no one's going to go and look now.
There's more of a, I think we pulled more of like an obscure reference to it in American Psycho.
Yeah.
Whereas this is more like a direct nail on the head about current culture and the way society's moving with technology, and which interestingly is kind of built off some of the ideology they were talking about in the first Trainspotting.
Yeah.
I thought it was just wonderfully well connected.
Yeah. I think when I initially looked at it, I thought I came out feeling a little bit like, I can't work out if that was good or not. But the more I think about it, I mean, it is a good film. I think I just wanted a little bit more out of an original story.
Yes.
Like, use these characters that we know and love, some of them, but it just needed a bit more of an original story. I also didn't like the fact that they did the drugs, didn't they? Like the one scene. Yeah. And I felt like that was just shoehorned in just so they could do some weird little camera trickery thing with I think it was horses running on the walls.
Yeah.
Because obviously the first film's full of stuff like that with the baby on the ceiling, the toilet flushing thing, all that weird.
And it was weird to have that because, like, Renton's one of the ones doing the drugs, but it's not like he uses that as a gateway into getting back into drugs.
Yeah. He
just does it once and then it's never brought up again.
Yeah.
He was an addict. He should be, like, staying away from it.
Yeah. And the whole thing was like, he stopped doing it and we're all feeling like good for him. Like, yeah, you've changed your life, kind of.
It does feel like a throwaway scene, doesn't it? It's like, he does the drugs, right, carry on.
We need a drug scene, it's Trainspotting.
Yeah.
Throw it in.
Unless Danny Boyle's trying to do something where it's like that is him getting back into that world. He's not looking to progress anymore, but
it doesn't really play out, does it?
It doesn't play out like that, because one of my favourite scenes in this, actually, right at the beginning, when Renton's coming back to Edinburgh, and he's suddenly seeing it as being like this tourist hotspot, and it's cool and it's trendy, and like there's been loads of like development around there, and the city's looking better than it ever has, and he's sitting on like the train and he's going through everything. It was just great to see him going back and not only revisiting the characters 20 years later, but revisiting like the location of the city and the real world applications of what happened to that environment 20 years later.
Yeah. It's how it's like modernized and in the same way as the film has as well. Like, I know I mentioned to you before, the way it still got hit the director's little trickeries and little freeze frames and things. I loved all that. It does feel a little disjointed because of just the way technology's moved on. We had like, it's all high definition now and stuff, but you know what I mean? It felt a little bit different.
Yeah, having the old footage in there, because that would be the old stuff had either been shot on, I can't remember this again, we should have looked this up, but the original film was either shot on film or shot on digital.
Right.
And like early days of digital, talking like, DV digital. But this is obviously shot on like a high-end digital camera, talking like Red Alexa sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And it does feel a little bit disjointed.
I think because when I think of Trainspotting, I think of like a more great, like a VHS style looking film. That feeling I got from that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
It's a strange. I've never really felt like that.
I had the same thing with 20 Days Later, Danny Boyle, 20 Days Later, where the big thing with that was shot with an XL1.
Yeah.
And that was mini DV tape.
Yeah.
So like that has a certain look about it, which Trainspotting has a similar sort of thing.
Are we getting to that point where it's like vinyl versus
I don't think
MP3?
anyone's going to harken back to the days of mini DV tape.
I want my films more grainy and dirty.
I think that's more like
that's what
celluloid
it did give
and
it
digital.
character though, in a way. Yeah. For me, I think when I think of Trainspotting, you think of 28 Days Later, it's just like that kind of cheaper budget type British
budget stuff.
Films.
That's a great point. This doesn't feel as low budget as the first Trainspotting does.
Yeah.
The first Trainspotting seems like revel in the low budget angle. This kind of doesn't. It's not like gushing.
Doesn't really do any. There's no explosions there, is there?
There's only 6.
6.
I don't know.
6. That's a perfect fact there. 6. No, No, I don't. What did the budget go on? I did love the way he fell off that chair in that dream sequence at the beginning.
Yeah.
That was a nice little idea.
Maybe that whole chair thing is supposed to be the...
Full budget.
That's the entire budget.
That was a very expensive chair.
He actually paid someone to throw them off a building. That guy did not do it cheap.
No, all his money went to his family. He died.
I mean, maybe that's supposed to be the equivalent of when he goes into the toilet in the first Trainspotting.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, the more I think about it, there's lots of very clever little scenes and ideas in it.
Yeah.
I just think it was lacking a little bit in story and harked back a bit too much to and it was very predictable, I think, near the end.
Yeah, this doesn't, like, you're right, this doesn't feel like an original story wholly.
Yeah.
And I think that's partly because they're treading some of the same story beats, like the new girl who's introduced.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about you, but like as soon as she turned up, I went, oh, she's going to be the one to screw him over at the end.
Yeah, exactly.
The one new character is clearly going to be like a linchpin in some way.
I quite liked her though.
I'm sure you did.
Yeah, I enjoyed her.
But no, I personally thought it was a lovely sequel to the original Trainspotting.
Yep.
But
love letter. It's like a love
100%,
letter.
I want to leave it there. Do not make Trainspotting 3.
No, yeah, no.
Unless you want to make it another 20
years later. He doesn't do sequels anyway, does he?
No, this is first one.
Yeah, I think so.
First one.
Yeah.
He had 28 Days Later, which got made into a sequel.
Yeah, he didn't do that, did he?
But no, he didn't have anything to do with it.
Yeah. I want something, keep giving us original stuff, I think.
Because
Hollywood needs that anyway, it needs some original stuff. Like superhero films coming out of our...
Although, Danny Boyle, Hollywood?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, true. But no, originality, give us more of that.
To be fair, I wouldn't mind sending Danny Boyle over to Hollywood for a little bit. Give him some money, because one of my favourite films, Danny Boyle, is Sunshine.
Okay.
And that's totally like his biggest, like his highest concept sort of film, his most Hollywood film.
Yeah.
I fucking love
I always
Sunshine.
confuse them two, like Guy Ritchie and him for some reason. I don't know why.
I've got Guy Ritchie problems as well.
Yeah, oh no, you haven't.
Yeah.
I like Guy Ritchie.
We can talk about that some other time though. Right. Any final thoughts?
If you like the first one, you'll like this. Go into it and just enjoy it and remember the original. Well, you've got no choice. It'll remind you.
It will remind you
a million times. But no, it's a good film. It is.
Cool. Rick, thank you very much for joining us today.
You're welcome.
Where
Andy.
can the lovely people at home find you?
At popcorn_media on Twitter, Popcornography on Facebook. Look for the little red power button, and come and join in on all the little daft games and stuff that we do. And as we mentioned earlier, if you want to see more of Rick, he's on this week's Film Club, where we're going to be talking about American Psycho. Yeah. Guys, thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you next week for Film Club in... I don't remember what we're doing for that week's Film Club. Submarine. See you later.